I am Irene Bourne-Zash, and I created the One Planet Harnessing Hope project. The work includes a video and a powerful hard copy exhibit of photos and text. The video and exhibit capture what people and organizations from diverse faiths and cultures are doing to help the environment.
I was born in 1963, so I was just an adolescent when a few things happened politically in the United States. Everyone remembers Nixon, everyone remembers the Vietnam War. What I remember is Love Canal.
President Carter declared a state of emergency today in the Love Canal area of New York's Niagara Falls, where toxic chemicals were discovered oozing from the ground.
I remember seeing a documentary on television. I guess I would have been 13, 14 years old. And just being amazed, utterly amazed at the courage of Lois Marie Gibbs, but also shocked that kids were being poisoned by our neglect. There were kids who got extraordinarily sick and kids who died. And I just remember being utterly shocked that this went on. And it wasn't very many years after that that I started studying the environment formally and getting involved in environmental organizations.
It's harder now than it usually is. We don't go past plus 25, and it has been going past plus 25, and that's a little hot. And it's melting the ice, and it's affecting the polar bears. Their hunting ground is the ice. So the temperature is a big thing up there. We live in a harsh environment, and now it's slowly getting much more harder to go out hunting on the land.
It is so important that those of us who were involved in the civil rights issues in 1960 through 1970, that we get involved in this whole environmental effort. Right now, I'm working with Interfaith Power and Light. One of the issues that we're talking about is how do we begin to really look at what we as human beings are doing to disturb and destroy the planet. We believe that God created a perfectly balanced ecological world where buffaloes and bees and plants and flowers and humans came together. But because of our own greed and ignorance, we've begun to destroy the planet. So what we've decided to do, the first thing in any movement, is to make people aware of what's going on. The awareness is very obvious when we look at the climate change and what's happening all over, when we look at deserts that are drying up and the depletion of water. And so when we look at, for example, asthmatic conditions in urban areas among low-income people, these are real issues. These are civil issues. These are human rights issues. So for anyone to deny that climate change is not real, they're not living in this century. So Interfaith Power and Light, we've decided to come together, bringing in the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Christian community, all of us coming together from an interfaith perspective. It's interesting that our various faiths might be different in terms of who we call God, whether it's Jehovah Jireh, whether it's Allah, whether it's Jesus Christ. But it's one thing that's real. There is a force that's greater than all of us that created this climate, and we as human beings are disrupting that.
It was really Thomas Berry, who he's deceased now, but he was a member of the religious order that I'm a part of, and that is responsible for this ecological church.
All life forms are supported, mutually supported, and they're all interdependent. So we are all interdependent on each other, whether it's animal, plants, human beings, we all need each other's support.
When I look into the Old Testament teaching, it says that we should live by the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that. But what we found is that we violated the first commandment in Genesis 1:28, where it says, you are stewards of the planet. Take care of my earth. We are not taking care of the earth. So we're coming back to the basic. If we're to live in harmony in the environment, then we've got to look at water, we've got to look at air, we've got to look at plants. It's unfortunate now, I must say, that we have destroyed the planet so much and we're tired of destroying the planet, so now we're starting to destroy each other.
Myself and my family are doing little things like recycling, decomposing, planting.
Our role, if we have one, is in education, I think, in helping people to understand, as Tom Berry used to say, the magnitude of the problem, but also of the resources, the spiritual resources that are available to us if we can change our values, change our outlook, and most especially, I would say, change our way of thinking.
There are 27,000 faith buildings across Canada, and they're located in every community. About 1 out of 3 Canadians profess to attend worship at least monthly. So we believe that the power of those numbers and the potential for utilizing our faith communities to serve the communities that they're located in to role model sustainability is quite powerful.
In my work here at City Hall, I do an awful lot to try to reduce our dependence on the automobile, changing physically how we lay out our streets, making investments in cycling spaces, in public transit, and pedestrian spaces most importantly. Also, probably the biggest cause for those of us who live in the city of Toronto that we contribute is in how we heat our spaces, our use of natural gas for heating our homes and our workplaces. Our long-term goal is trying to be in line with what the science tells us we need to do, which is to reduce the emissions we have by 80% by the year 2050.
The government should step in and help our elders. Our elders are dying off, and they need to listen to our elders.
I'll rely on Thomas Berry again. He said our goal is to have a mutually enhancing relationship with the earth. So it isn't as though we have to live some kind of deprived life. We certainly have to deprive ourselves of a lot of the things that are superfluous now. But mutually enhancing means both healthy for the earth and healthy for us. The hope has to be, I think, that major systems in the human community change.
The future, unless until we change our lavish lifestyle, which translates into borrowing the future generations' time, we cannot move forward to protect the environment. We have to shop intelligently, travel intelligently, and of course eat intelligently, so that we can protect the environment without causing much harm by carbon emissions.
I often tell people that we either change how we live or the climate will change it for us. And what I mean by that is as the amount of energy driving our weather systems increases as a result of climate change, we're going to get more droughts, and more floods, and more famines. that will put some number of people, billions likely, unable to live where they currently live. And there's going to be a mass migration at the same time as we lose a lot of our arable land. So we'll be suffering from a shortage of food and huge immigration problems, which human beings have traditionally not dealt with very well. It's not a future that I think anyone wants to live in.
We are working with congregations, with temples, with mosques all over the world, bringing an awareness to the people. Now, why are we bringing an awareness to the people? Because people will influence business. This is all about following the dollar. When you talk about coal, when you talk about nuclear, when you talk about other forms of energy, businesses come together for the bottom line, the investment. So if we can show that they can make money and still improve and still not destroy the climate, still have good health. So we bring people to awareness because people influence business. So if we can bring an awareness all over the world why climate change, fossil burning fuels are so negative, then we impact the business community. Then the business community will impact the politicians. Then we can change policy and we can have something that we can call sustainability in our efforts. So that's what we're doing all over the world, and it's coming together. We're so thankful for the Laudato Si, which is an encyclical that came out from Pope Francis, which really talks about how we're destroying the world all over. And it's one thing to talk about policy, it's one thing for conservationists to come together, but when we can take the work of the scientists, which is showing that we're destroying the planet, and we can take the scientists, convince the business people will convince the politicians, and all of it rests upon a moral foundation. We have a moral obligation, a civil rights responsibility to make a difference. So that's what we're doing as Interfaith Power and Light.
I would like to thank all of the people who worked with me, and in particular, Faith and the Common Good's Greening Sacred Spaces program. I created the project because I believe we all need inspiration so that each of us will do our best to protect the environment. I dedicate this work to the late Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson and to my late beloved uncle, Dr. Bernard Ludwig. Their examples inspired my lifelong passion for multi-faith unity. We are in this together. We are one.